Pakistan came to existence on 14th of August 1947 due to the laborious efforts of Quaid-e-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah and his followers. Indeed, everyone was happy to have an independent state where we would have a sovereignty and practice our religion, Islam.
हमें जो दुख दिया गया है उसका मिसाल तारीख में नहीं मिलता, मगर हमें पाकिस्तान को कायम रखने के लिए अभी और कुर्बानी करना होगी। मुसलमान मुसीबत में घबराया नहीं करता।
Unfortunately, till now we are not at that pinnacle what we expected 64 years back. And this is because we have certain evils which are deteriorating our system. One such evil is corruption. Corruption is like a ball of snow. Once it's set a-rolling, it must increase. Corruption remains a substantial obstacle for Pakistan, where it is still perceived to be widespread and systematic and deeply entrenched at all levels of society and government and even in NGOs. Even the minor class is doing whatever it can to promote this evil. Petty corruption in the form of bribery is prevalent in law enforcement, procurement and the provision of public services. Most government indicators show an unchanging situation in Pakistan. Based on research done for this query and consultations with TI Pakistan, corruption is viewed as being equally pervasive within federal, provincial and local governments. Even the anti-corrupt department itself is involved in corruption. In Persian, it is said, "Chu kufar az Kaaba barkhizat, kuja manad Musalmani." When blasphemy comes out of Kaaba, where the real Islam will remain. Which means, as is the head, as is the institution. And the head of an institution is always role model for the public. We can apply this proverb in every department of federal, provincial or local bodies. Corruption manifests itself in various forms in Pakistan, including widespread financial and political corruption, nepotism and misuse of power. Both petty and grand corruption is prevalent in the country. No department or institution is free of corruption. As an education department, we practice in everyday life in different exams of students where every kind of unfair means are used. When we experience such situations where these students pass out and are appointed at various levels of their jobs and responsibility, we can imagine such a terrible situation of a head of department. In such a way, we are making a murder of merit and real judgment. The judiciary is not seen as an independent and considered to be shielding corrupt political practices from prosecution as we have been facing in the prevalent circumstances of Pakistan. From the murder of Liaquat Ali Khan in 1951 to the assassination of Benazir a few years back. The reason of the above said cases and many other cases have not come to known publicly, and so the final judgment of the cases are still miracle and mysterious due to the political pressure and internal and external influences of other countries also. Citizens commonly face demands for bribes in their dealings with government institutions to access basic public services. The frequency of petty bribery is alarming and has shown little improvement over time, as evident in the National Corruption Service conducted by TI Pakistan in 2002 and 2006. The survey results for 2002 indicated that a remarkable 100% of the respondents who had any type of contact with the police over the previous year were confronted with corruption. In terms of basic services, 44% of the respondents were only able to access electricity by paying a bribe, while the rest had to rely on other forms of influence to approach for their petty gains. When it came to the country's tax authorities, nearly 99% had encountered corruption. According to the respondents of the 2006 survey, the two most corrupt government agencies were the police, with a corruption rate of 64%, and power sector with a rate of 11%. The three main reasons for corruption, as viewed by the respondents, were the lack of accountability, low salaries, and discretionary powers. Measures suggested for combating corruption included more adequate salaries and a speedy judicial process. The future of Pakistan and alleviation of poverty in rural areas of Pakistan is highly dependent on successful completion of all developmental projects. This success is threatened by the evil of corruption that must be stopped on urgently before it is too late. The religious extremism is deteriorating economic conditions and worsening living standards are unnerving the people of rural Sindh and Balochistan, who until now have refused to fall in the trap of extremism. It is imperative that all stakeholders, including political parties, government officials, civil society organizations, private companies, donor agencies, and common people recognize the carnage that current levels of corruption can do to the heartlands of Pakistan. They must form a grand coalition to stop the menace before it is too late. We can't eliminate this menace of corruption as far as we bear in mind from the very core of heart the brilliant principle of her Holy Prophet and Khulafai Rashidin, as bribery, corruption are strictly prohibited in our religion. In Islam, one who presents oneself for a responsibility of public dealing is automatically disqualified for the candidate. Hazrat Abu Bakr Raziyallahu Anhu was offered Khilafat 11 times repeatedly, and at last he was forced to accept the Khilafat at demand of public. Similarly, Hazrat Umar Raziyallahu Anhu refused to accept Khilafat, but people said that it is true that you didn't want Khilafat, but it is Khilafat that wanted you. These examples show that they were so honest and pious persons that avoided any kind of corruption and adulteration or impurity in any field because they were responsible to Almighty Allah on Day of Judgment. In the end, being a humble candidate or speaker of this topic, I would advise all audience to keep always in their view. Al-Rashi wal-Murtashi kilahuma finnar. One who offers the bribe and acceptor of the bribe, both are in hell.